The air inside the hidden chamber was thick with dust and the weight of centuries. Kael Draven's lantern flickered weakly against the rough stone walls, throwing long, wavering shadows that danced like ghosts in the stale silence. He crouched low, careful not to disturb the delicate rubble beneath his boots as he traced the edge of a carved relief with his calloused fingers. The symbols were unlike any he had seen in his years, navigating the red sand's circular motifs entwined with hourglass figures, their meaning elusive yet beckoning. Beside him, Yari Mekari moved with the fluid grace of a man born to the desert's harsh embrace. His dark eyes scanned the walls, memorizing the inscriptions with a practiced eye. "These markings," Yari murmured, "they speak of time, not just as a measure, but something to be wielded." Kael swallowed hard, the implications settling like a stone in his gut. The Chronos Artifact was more than legend. It was power beyond reckoning. He pulled out the fragment of the stolen map, its ragged edges a stark reminder of the treacheries that had shaped their path. The fragment had led them here, into the bowels of the temple, to secrets that could twist the very fabric of reality. Suddenly, a faint rustle caught Kael's attention. He turned sharply, lantern held high, but saw only the shifting shadows. Before he could voice his suspicion, a soft sound reached his ears, a faint rustling, a whisper almost lost to the silence. From the darkness emerged a figure Lena Voss, her dust-streaked goggles reflecting the lantern light. She moved with deliberate caution, her voice a mere breath as she handed Kael a folded note. "Read this when you're alone," she urged, eyes flickering with a mixture of fear and hope. Kael took the note, his mind racing. Lena's presence here was a risk Seleni's younger sister, caught between loyalty and doubt. Could he trust her? The question gnawed at him as she slipped back into the shadows, vanishing as quietly as she had arrived. Kael unfolded the note once Yari was out of sight. The words were simple, yet heavy with meaning. "Seleni's obsession blinds her. There is another way. Trust no one but me." The weight of betrayal and alliance hung in the balance. Kael folded the note carefully, tucking it into his pocket. The temple's silent walls seemed to close in, the inscriptions whispering their ancient secrets. The circular symbol, entwined with the hourglass, gleamed faintly in the lantern light, as if alive. "Time is not a river, Yari," Kael said, voice low and resolute. "It's a weapon." Yari nodded, his face grim. "And we're about to be tested beyond anything we've faced." Deeper into the temple, the air grew cooler, the silence heavier. Kael's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of history and the stolen map's guidance. Every step forward was shadowed by the knowledge that rival factions closed in, their footsteps echoing faintly through the stone corridors. The desert outside was a tempest waiting to break, and inside, time itself seemed to warp around them. Kael paused before a massive stone door, its surface etched with the same circular hourglass symbol. He pressed his palm against the cold rock, feeling a pulse beneath his fingers, a heartbeat of the temple, alive with ancient power. "We're close," he whispered, "closer than any of us thought." As they prepared to breach the door, the distant sound of voices reminded them they were not alone. The race for the Chronos Artifact was far from over, and the shifting sands of trust and betrayal were more treacherous than the desert itself. Kael's heart pounded with a fierce mix of desperation and determination. The fragments of time lay before him, and with them, the possibility of rewriting his own fate. But at what cost? The desert held its breath, and so did he. Outside, the wind began to howl, carrying with it the promise of storms and the relentless march of time. Kael tightened his grip on the lantern, the glow casting sharp lines across his weathered face. The hunt was far from finished, and every second counted. He glanced once more at the folded note in his pocket. "Trust no one but me." The words echoed in his mind as he stepped forward into the unknown, the past and future entwined in the shadows of the temple. The sands whispered their secrets, and Kael was ready to listen. The cavernous chamber seemed to breathe with a life of its own, its ancient stones humming softly beneath the weight of millennia. Kael Draven stepped cautiously onto the cracked floor, the worn leather of his boots barely making a sound against the dusty surface. The air was thick, charged with an energy that whispered of secrets long buried and power barely contained. Across the chamber, Selene Voss awaited him, her posture poised and unyielding, the faint gleam of her silver scar slicing across her jawline like a sliver of moonlight in the dimness. "You came," she said, her voice a cold melody that carried both challenge and inevitability. "I knew you would." Kael didn't respond immediately. Instead, his sharp eyes scanned the shifting shadows that danced along the walls, flickering as if the very fabric of reality here was unsteady. The temple's magic was alive, warping time and space in subtle, disorienting ways. Footsteps echoed unevenly, the moments stretching and contracting like the pulse of a living thing. "This place plays tricks," Kael muttered, tightening his grip on the hilt of his knife. Selene's lips twitched into a faint smile. "More than tricks. It's a test, and only one of us will walk away with the Chronos Artifact." Their eyes locked, a storm of history and hatred swirling between them. Kael thought of everything that had led him to this moment, the betrayals, the losses, the desperate hope that this artifact might offer a way out of his haunted past. Selene, with her icy determination and silent scars, was no less driven. She sought not just power, but a chance to rewrite history itself, to undo the pain that had shaped her. Without further warning, Selene lunged. The clash of their weapons rang through the chamber, sharp and echoing, cutting through the heavy silence. Kael moved with the practiced precision of a man who had survived countless battles, parrying and countering with a fierce grace. But the temple fought alongside them. The walls seemed to warp and ripple, distorting their movements and shifting the very ground beneath their feet. Time folded strangely here. One moment Kael felt as if he were moving through molasses, every second drawn out painfully. The next, his senses snapped forward, and the world blurred faster than his eyes could follow. He caught glimpses of the past, fragments of memories not his own, flickering like ghostly echoes around them. Selene's voice cut through the chaos, icy and sharp. "You can't run from what you've done, Kael. The past always catches up." He gritted his teeth, blocking a vicious strike before twisting away. "And you think controlling time will make your pain vanish? Power's a curse, Selene, one you're already drowning in." Her eyes flashed with anger and something almost like sorrow. "You have no idea what I've lost." The silver scar along her jaw caught the flickering light, a cruel reminder of battles fought and sacrifices made. Kael's resolve wavered for a heartbeat, the human beneath the ruthless archaeologist suddenly stark and vulnerable. From the shadows, Lena Voss watched, her heart pounding in her chest. Torn between loyalty to her sister and an unspoken sympathy for Kael, she felt the fragile threads of alliance fray beneath the weight of their conflict. She knew the duel was more than a fight for the artifact. It was a collision of shattered souls, each seeking salvation in a desert that forgave nothing. The battle raged on, a blur of steel and shadow, the temple's magic bending reality around them. Time fractured, seconds lost and found, moments overlapping in a dizzying dance. Kael's mind raced to keep pace, fighting not only Selene's blade, but the disorienting effects of the chamber. As their weapons locked, Selene leaned in, her voice a harsh whisper. "This ends now, Kael. Either the artifact is mine, or everything you fought for is meaningless." Kael met her gaze, breath steady despite the chaos. "Then let's finish it." But the temple had other plans. A sudden tremor shook the chamber, ancient mechanisms groaning to life. The walls pulsed with an eerie light, and the air thickened as if the very essence of time was unraveling. Both combatants froze, their duel suspended between past and future. In that suspended moment, Kael glimpsed the terrible cost of the artifact's power. Reality bending, lives unraveling, fate itself hanging by a thread. The choice before him was no longer just about survival or victory. It was about what kind of man he wanted to be when the sand settled. Seleni's eyes searched his, the ice melting into desperation. "Help me control it," she pleaded. "Together, we can reshape everything." Kael shook his head, stepping back into the shifting shadows. Some things aren't meant to be changed. Their duel paused, the air crackling with unspoken truths and impossible choices. The temple whispered around them, ancient and eternal, as the Chronos Artifact waited, a prize and a curse entwined in the endless dance of time. But the battle was far from over. The air inside the temple chamber was thick with dust and the lingering scent of ancient stone, mingled with the faint metallic tang of the desert air that seeped in through cracks in the walls. Flickering torchlight cast uneasy shadows that danced across the worn inscriptions etched into the walls, but it was Selene who held the room's attention. Slowly, deliberately, she reached up to the side of her face, pulling back the scarf that had become her shield against the world. There, under the pale light, gleamed the silver scar tracing from just below her ear, along the sharp line of her jaw. It shimmered unnaturally, a scar unlike any other, catching light in a way that was both beautiful and haunting. Kael's breath caught. He had seen the scar before, glimpsed it in fleeting moments during their confrontations, but never had it been so exposed, so raw. The scar wasn't just a mark. It was a map of pain, a testament to a past that had shaped Selene into the woman standing before him, elegant, cold, and unyielding. Yet now, in this moment, it spoke of something else: vulnerability. Selene's voice was low, almost a whisper, as she began to speak. "This scar, it's a reminder," she said, her eyes flickering with a rare hint of sorrow. "A reminder of the war that tore my family apart. The price of time, how easily it can slip away, taken by forces beyond our control. I wear it not as a badge of honor, but as a burden, a constant whisper that I cannot undo what's been lost." Kael studied her, searching the depths behind those piercing eyes. A woman he had always seen as nothing more than a rival. A relentless hunter of the Chronos Artifact was more complicated than he had ever imagined. Here was a broken soul, driven by grief and obsession, willing to risk everything to rewrite a past stained by loss. The distant howl of the desert wind crept through the ancient stone, threading its way between them like a living thing, carrying with it the weight of years and secrets buried beneath layers of sand. It was a sound that spoke of loneliness and endurance, of battles fought both without and within. Kael felt an unfamiliar tug at his own guarded heart, a flicker of empathy that he quickly smothered. He was no stranger to loss, to betrayal, but sympathy was a weapon he could ill afford to wield in this deadly game. Yet as he glanced at Selene, the lines between foe and fellow sufferer blurred, if only for a moment. In the shadowed recesses of the chamber, Lena watched silently, her breath shallow and uneven. Her goggles, streaked with desert dust, caught the torchlight as she clutched a worn piece of parchment to her chest. The secret messages she had been sending to Kael had opened a fissure in her loyalty to her sister Selene, and now that fissure threatened to become a chasm. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts: loyalty to family, duty to the expedition, and the growing conviction that the path they were on might lead to destruction. The weight of history pressed down on her as heavily as the centuries-old stones around them, and she wondered if she could bear the consequences of choosing sides. The tension in the chamber was palpable as Kael finally broke the silence. "Your scar, it tells a story I hadn't known," he said, his voice steady but edged with something softer. "Maybe we're both chasing ghosts, trying to change what time has already decided." Selene's eyes locked with his. a spark of something like understanding flickering between them. "Perhaps," she replied, "but some of us refuse to accept the limits of fate." Outside, the desert night was falling fast, swallowing the last rays of sun beneath a horizon that stretched endlessly. The faint rumble of an approaching sandstorm stirred the dust at the temple's mouth, a reminder that time, like the sands themselves, waited for no one. As the storm's growl grew louder, Kael and Selene stood in silent accord, their rivalry transformed by shared scars and unspoken truths. But neither trusted the other, fully not yet. Lena's conflicted gaze drifted between them, the burden of her choices heavier than ever. The road ahead was uncertain, lined with shifting alliances and the relentless pull of destiny. And somewhere, deep within the endless red sands, the Chronos Artifact awaited, its power poised to change everything. The chapter closed on that uneasy balance between past and future, trust and betrayal, hope and despair, leaving Kael to wonder if understanding his enemy could be the key to survival or the beginning of his undoing. This was no longer just a race for treasure. It was a reckoning with the scars time left behind and the choices that might yet redefine them all. The desert outside whispered its eternal warning as the first grains of the storm began to bite at the ancient stones, heralding a night that would test every bond, every secret, and every heart. Kael's gaze hardened. Whatever came next, he would face it with the weight of their shared pasts and the uncertain promise of what lay beyond the shifting sands. The silver scar gleamed faintly in the flickering light, a symbol not just of loss, but of the relentless will to endure. And the sands waited, patient and eternal, for the final move. The desert twilight cast long shadows across the jagged canyon walls, the fading light turning the sand a deep burnt orange. I waited, muscles taut beneath my worn desert gear, every sense alert. The air was cool for the first time in days, but the chill did nothing to soothe the tension coiling in my chest. The faint crunch of footsteps drew my gaze to a slender figure emerging from the shadows. Lena Voss. Her face was half hidden beneath a scarf, dust-streaked goggles reflecting the last amber rays. "You're late," I whispered, my voice low, barely carrying over the soft desert breeze. She shook her head, eyes darting nervously. "Had to make sure Selene was distracted. She's on edge, senses something's off." Her presence was a paradox, soft yet resolute, a flicker of vulnerability beneath the hardened exterior Selene's shadow had cast over her. I tightened my grip on the leather strap of my satchel, the weight of the stolen map fragments inside, and gestured toward a narrow crevice that sliced through the canyon floor. "What did you find?" Lena pulled a folded parchment from her coat, her fingers trembling slightly as she unfolded it to reveal crude sketches of the temples, hidden chambers, and a series of notations in ancient script. Selene's been hiding the true extent of the temple's traps. "These passages, they're not on any maps," I finished for her, eyes scanning the lines that promised shortcuts and escape routes. "If you're right, this could turn the tide." She nodded, a flicker of hope lighting her tired eyes. "But it's dangerous. If Selene finds out I'm helping you," "She won't," I assured her, though the lie felt heavy. Trust was a currency more precious than water out here, and I had little to spare. As we slipped back through the canyon, the desert night unfurled like a velvet curtain dotted with cold stars. The flicker of a distant campfire caught my attention, and I motioned Lena to stay low. From my vantage point atop a rocky outcrop, I watched Rashid al-Nasser move between groups of Selene's mercenaries, his gesture smooth, his voice low but persuasive. Rashid was a wild card, his loyalties as shifting as the sands themselves. I'd dealt with men like him before, traders of secrets and supplies, always balancing profit and principle on a knife's edge. Tonight, his eyes met mine briefly, and I saw the calculating gleam that told me he weighed every alliance for advantage. Back at my own camp, the fire's glow painted Lena's face in flickering shades of amber and shadow. The quiet between us was thick with unspoken fears and fragile trust. Why risk it? I asked finally, breaking the silence. Why help me? She hesitated, then met my gaze steadily. Because Seleni's path will destroy more than just us. It'll tear apart everything we once believed in. I can't be part of that anymore. Her words struck a chord, a reminder that even in the harshest desert, loyalties could shift like the sands. But with every secret shared, every alliance formed in the shadows, the stakes grew higher. Seleni's paranoia was no idle threat. She was a predator sharpening her claws for anyone who dared defy her. That night, as the wind whispered through the dunes, I realized the battle for the Chronos Artifact was no longer just about survival. It was a war for trust, for power, and for the fragile hope that redemption might still be within reach. The desert held its breath, waiting for the next move. Days later, armed with Lena's intelligence, we set a trap of our own. Seleni's forces moved like ghosts through the sand, confident in their superiority, unaware that the very ground beneath them had been mapped anew. When the ambush came, it was swift and brutal rifles cracked against ancient stone. Sand exploded in choking clouds, and the desert swallowed the screams. Through the chaos, I caught sight of Lena darting between shadows, her presence a beacon amid the storm. But the victory was Pyrrhic. Rashid's true allegiance remained a mystery, his disappearance during the firefight leaving a void no one dared fill. As the dust settled and the sun rose blood-red over the red sands, the fragile alliance between Lena and me had shifted the balance, but at a cost. Seleni's fury was now a tangible force, her cold eyes burning with renewed resolve. The desert was no longer just a battlefield. It was a crucible, testing every bond, every trust, every secret. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the sands were only just beginning to shift. The heavy stone doors groaned open, revealing the chamber at the heart of the temple, a vast expanse carved from sandstone and ancient rock, yet alive with a surreal vibrancy that defied explanation. I stepped inside, every instinct screaming caution, as the air shifted around me in a way that felt both alien and unnerving. Light bent strangely here, shimmering like heat waves on a mirage, and the very walls appeared to ripple subtly, as if breathing. The ancient glyphs etched into the stone pulsed faintly, glowing with a soft, ethereal blue that seemed to pulse in rhythm with my own heartbeat. Behind me, Jerry's footsteps slowed, his eyes scanning the chamber with practiced vigilance. "This is no ordinary temple," he muttered, voice low. "Time itself. It's different here." I nodded, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. The Chronos Artifact, the prize we'd risked everything for, was close. Yet the closer we drew, the more the world seemed to unspool around us. Selene and her faction entered behind us, their presence a knife-edge tension slicing through the chamber. Selene's eyes locked onto mine, cold and calculating, her silver scar catching the strange light and glinting like a warning. "Kael," she said, voice layered with both challenge and something darker, "you don't understand the power you're meddling with." I met her gaze steadily. "Neither do you, Selene. But we're about to find out." The words barely left my lips when the first shift hit. The air rippled and folded, and suddenly Selene's voice fractured, overlapping with itself like echoes trapped in a canyon. Her words repeated, warped, and overlapped, creating a disorienting chorus. "You don't understand. You don't understand." My head spun as reality seemed to stutter and rewind. I blinked hard, trying to focus. Lena moved quietly at the periphery, her goggles catching dust streaks as she slipped through the shadows. Her presence was a balm amid the chaos, though even she seemed affected, her movements blurring like a fading photograph. "Kael," she whispered urgently, slipping a folded note into my hand. The script was hurried but clear. "Trust is fragile here. Selene's resolve falters. We can turn this. I clenched the paper tight, feeling the weight of her hope and doubt. Around us, the chamber twisted further. The ground beneath Jerry's feet seemed to stretch and snap back, and suddenly he froze mid-step, eyes wide with alarm as distant thunder echoed backward, a sound both impossible and terrifying. "Traps," Yari hissed, voice tense. "The temple's defenses, they're activated but distorted. Time is their weapon." We had seconds to react. The floor trembled, and shifting stones revealed jagged spikes, while ancient mechanisms whirred with strange rhythms. Each movement felt like swimming through molasses, our senses betrayed by the fluctuating flow of time. I barked orders, my voice cutting through the confusion. "Stay close. Watch your step. Move slow but steady." Selene snarled, her usual composure cracking as her own team faltered. The artifact's chamber was turning into a crucible, testing not only our physical endurance, but the limits of our minds. Time warped and flickered, moments stretched into eternities and snapped back in violent bursts. I could feel my thoughts lagging, memories colliding with present fears, and every decision weighed heavy with consequences unseen. Yet I refused to yield. This was the moment that would define us all. "We're not just fighting for the artifact," I muttered to myself, voice raw. "We're fighting for the future our own, and whatever comes after." And as the chamber's shifting light cast long shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls, I knew the greatest battle was yet to come, one where time itself was the enemy, and survival meant bending not just to the sands, but to the very fabric of fate. The fight for the Chronos Artifact had only just begun, and every second could be our last. The unforgiving sun scorched the endless dunes of the red sands, its harsh light casting shimmering waves across the barren landscape. I crouched low behind a jagged sandstone outcrop, my breath shallow and measured, every muscle taut with anticipation. Beside me, Mira, a lithe figure cloaked in the muted browns and tans of the desert, held up a hand, her fingers curling into a silent signal. Her dark eyes flicked toward the horizon, where a faint shimmer betrayed the approach of Selene's patrols. Myra's presence was a rare comfort amidst the merciless vastness. Once a fleeting acquaintance from Jerry's nomad tribe, she had become an invaluable ally without ever fully stepping into the tangled web of our quest. Her knowledge of the desert was unmatched. Every whisper of wind and grain of sand spoke to her like an ancient language. Now, as she guided me through these deadly shadows, her skill was the difference between life and death. We moved with practiced stealth, the crunch of sand beneath our boots muffled by the shifting dunes. The desert sun beat down relentlessly, but Myra's calm steadied me. She pointed ahead, indicating a narrow ravine carved by centuries of wind, a natural funnel that Selene's forces were likely to patrol. We skirted its edge, every step calculated to avoid detection. Nightfall brought a cooler reprieve. Around a modest campfire, Mira shared tales passed down through generation stories of lost temples swallowed by the sands, of spirits that guarded the secrets of time itself. Yari listened intently, his rugged face softened by the crackling flames and the intimacy of shared histories. The scent of dry earth mixed with the faint aroma of desert jasmine carried on a gentle breeze that whispered promises of change. But even in the camp's quiet, tension simmered beneath the surface. Selene's shadow loomed large, her relentless pursuit a constant reminder that trust was a scarce commodity. Myra's eyes remained sharp, scanning the darkness beyond the firelight for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a faint rustle broke the silence, a subtle disturbance in the brittle brush. Mira was on her feet in an instant, her movements fluid and silent as a desert cat. She signaled sharply, pulling me down behind a dune just as a lone scout emerged, his silhouette etched stark against the pale moonlight. The world seemed to hold its breath, the only sound the distant howl of the desert wind. We watched as the scout paused, scanning the horizon before retreating into the night. Myra's steady gaze met mine, the unspoken understanding clear. The enemy was near and vigilant. Every moment from here on would demand heightened alertness and swift, decisive action. As dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, we observed Seleni's forces gather like a storm on the horizon. The desert, usually so indifferent, seemed to pulse with anticipation, an ancient stage set for the final act of our deadly dance. I tightened the straps on my gear, feeling the weight of the worn locket against my chest, a talisman against the chaos. Myra's intelligence had bought us precious time and insight, but the stakes had never been higher. The sands whispered warnings of betrayal and sacrifice, and I could feel the relentless grip of fate tightening around us all. Yet beneath the weight of uncertainty, a fierce resolve burned within me. This desert, these shadows, they were no match for the will to survive and the hunger to claim what was rightfully mine. The final confrontation loomed, and as the first rays of sunlight fractured the night, I knew that every step, every choice, would echo through the endless red sands forever.